Welcome to Healing Times. We love you so much. And actually, I am very excited about today's topic because I think it's one of the enemy's actually his sneakiest plans to keep the entire global church distracted. I can only imagine like the meeting in hell. I don't know if you ever read the Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. If you haven't, highly recommend it, okay? Because it talks about, it's a classic book where the demons are talking about how they can, keep the church not from doing its job and distracting people. And he writes how these demons plot against Christians to get them off the path of following God. Could you imagine when television was invented, all of America and the world went from being outside, talking to their neighbors, playing with their children, sitting outside, reading books, and now they're in front of a television. They're inside, they're isolated. This device changed the culture in such a way that it has never been the same since. I think the enemy saw how vulnerable we as humans are to technologies. When I was in Bible college, my first paper I wrote was on television and hypnotism. Even back in the 1980s, research was showing that after only a few minutes, you're actually in a hypnotic state. And you're as close to being asleep with your eyes open as humanly possible. Actually, your brain is off. And whatever you're watching is going right into your subconscious without a filter. I mean, all you got to do is take your grandchild or your child who's, say, maybe under 3 years old, put them in front of a television and watch their lower jaw drop. That's how close they are to sleep. They're out. And so are we. Let's face it. Most people watch television to relax, to escape from the real life, real responsibilities, and real relationship. Because once you turn that button on, everything else goes off. Then the computer came along, and the internet was shortly behind that. And that is the drug that is huge. And it's affecting the entire world with articles on social media. It's become addictive. The effects of social media on depression, anxiety on our teenagers and adults has gone through the roof. And we've also acknowledged the cell phone, like television, it moved us even further from each other. If you don't believe me, go to any restaurant you want. And I'm serious, just go to any restaurant you want. And you'll see most families of 4 or 5, they're all on their cell phone, not talking to each other, not even looking at each other, not even commenting on what they're looking at on their phone. Mom's on Facebook and the kids are on their things and dad's, looking at the news or whatever, and they're all gone. They're somewhere else. The gaming addiction is also real, with so much research on this as well, how it is impacting us. All of these fall under, for me, what I call media addiction. Now, we don't sit in front of television. We take it in our pocket. We live stream. So much more of us are watching stuff on our phone and being disconnected from our environment, walking into walls, falling off a curb, falling down steps, because we're just so distracted. And this is a huge problem, not for us individually, but collectively. Now, I have no axe to grind, nor do I think we are ever going to get rid of the television or cell phones. That's not my goal. Because honestly, the world has become dependent on them, and many are addicted to their phones, addicted to watching movies. They have more time with Netflix than the Bible. Now, I believe the church has been so distracted that evangelism rarely happens. I mean, just think about the last time you actually told someone about Jesus versus the last time you sat more than 2 hours in front of a screen. Even though Jesus said, go into all the world, most of us honestly don't see that as a command, but as some kind of option if we feel like it or if we happen to be gifted at it. It's not based on your gift, it's based on the command of the Word of God. So today, I want to help everyone discover if they are someone or if they know someone who's actually addicted to the media that's in their life. So I want you to stay with us as we help equip you to identify this in your life. Now, sometimes addictions are easy to see in other people's lives. You know, well, there's certain addictions that are really obvious to see: alcohol, food addictions, work addictions, because you can see the impact on other people's lives. But media addiction is kind of a secret, isolative addiction. Now, it's not that hard, you know, if you're married, if your husband or wife is in the other room for 3 or 4 hours. I've had couples fly in and do intensives just because the wife was on Facebook literally from 4 to 11 or 12 o'clock at night, affecting their marriage. Or the husband was sitting in front of the television for hours. Or a young marriage where one of them was gaming for 3 to 6 hours a night. I remember one person, I was sitting down with them and I was going through, you know, kind of their life. And this man literally gamed almost as many hours as he worked, which means he had no time for his wife. Now, again, I'm not against any of these activities in moderation, but we really need to consider what moderation means as Christians. How much of the world do we drink into our heart? How much of immorality do we watch? How many times do we watch the commandments of God being broken in a TV show or in a movie before we turn it off? I mean, literally, I remember when my kids were younger saying, now, let's keep track of the commandments that are broken. Okay, well, the Lord's name in vain, okay, murder, okay, adultery, fornication. I mean, we just go down the list and we can be amazed. I was trying to teach my children, when you're watching TV, to keep your mind going, to see what is actually going on and what are you feeding your spirit. You know, if you watch immorality for 10, 15, 20 hours a week, that's going to have an impact on the way you look at other people. It's going to have an impact on the way you look at your marriage. You know, if you look at things and all this luxury, you know, that's one of the things that's an impact on social media, is people show these great pictures all the time, and it makes you wanting something that really isn't even real. And no one's living a life that's just a photo op. But how many of you go on vacation and it feels like 30% of your vacation is photo ops? We have become addicted to ourselves, and we look at ourselves, and especially the young people. I mean, and how many of you got a picture of someone's food? I mean, seriously, I'm not against you having a great meal, but I don't want to watch your food or your pet. Okay, there's billions of cat pictures and dog pictures. That's wonderful. Okay, go get a real dog. Go get a real cat. Have fun. Okay, but I'm just playing with you a little bit because this is serious, because the church is distracted, and you might be distracted, and you might actually be addicted. And there's a fine line there, and I want you to, as a minister of the gospel, to know when someone has crossed that line, to be able to ask the questions they need to answer so that they can determine if this is something they need to either cut out, change, or modify, so that their life is not out of balance, so they can hear, well done, good and faithful servant. You know, we want to be faithful servants of the Lord, and time is so precious to him that he's only given you 24 hours a day, and you want to monitor how much of that day is spent being fed entertainment by the world. We're not called to be entertained. We're called to evangelize.